This is NLAC Gaming and Podfix. This is Spreading the Magic, Chapter 3 by Food Moon on AO3. Spells, Battle Training, and the USJ. Summary. Magic Spells, Battle Training, and USJ. Skill Book. Skill Fragments, 27. Skill Cost. Skill-cost. Mana Ball, -10 fragments. Fireball, -10 fragments. Water Ball, -10 fragments. Earth Ball, -10 fragments. Wind Ball, -10 fragments. Izuku looks at his skill book in confusion. Which should I buy first? I mean, obviously not fire, but I think you should start with fire, Paige answers, then waves her hands in the air at his look. Hear me out. The thing about only these spells showing makes me think you have to purchase all of them to unlock the next level. And you might as well get it out of the way. Besides, this is a safe way for you to get more comfortable with fire. Fireballs don't do much damage unless you seriously overcharge them. At most, they'd give you a first-degree burn. If you were stupid enough to fire one at your foot while barefoot. Besides, fire is an element of some of the higher-level spells that don't have anything to do with fire directly. So it's actually useful to know at least one low-level fire spell before you try those. Oh, he says flatly, and stares at the skill book blankly for a few moments. Purchase Fireball. Purchase Water Ball. Both entries disappear from the page, and the number of skill fragments drops accordingly. Skill book. Skill fragments equals 7. Skill-cost. Mana Ball, -10 fragments. Earth Ball, -10 fragments. Wind Ball, -10 fragments. He frowns and closes the skill book. Apparently, Paige is right about needing all of them to unlock others. Where did they go? Try your Glimmermore, Paige says, as if she thinks he's being stupid. Which, okay, yeah, he kinda is. Glimmermore. He flips past the Summon Elemental page and finds a page that has 2 entries on it. Basic skills. Fireball. Cost 2 mana. Concentrate on the feel of fire in the palm of your hand and shape that feeling into a ball before shoving that feeling outwards while adding mana. Aim hand at target before firing. Target takes 2 damage. Tip. Adding more mana will increase the damage output and size of the fireball. Water Ball. Cost 2 mana. Concentrate on the feeling of water in the palm of your hand and shape that feeling into a ball before shoving that feeling outwards while adding mana. Aim hand at target before firing. Target takes 2 damage. Tip. Adding more mana will increase the damage output and size of the water ball. Tip. Can be used to put out small fires. The 2 entries take up a little under a third of the page, so presumably the other 3 basic skills/spells will be added to the same page as he buys them. Now he just needs a place he can safely practice them. He's going to have to wait until school, isn't he? Battle practice turns out to be the perfect place to practice Water Ball, because he is not stupid enough to use fire against explosions. He squirts Kacchan repeatedly. Kacchan bristles like a wet cat and summons, "No. Get him!" "Are you stupid?" she asks. "You can't do more damage than I do. Just do it," he growls. She sighs and turns her palm towards a wall. A second later, the wall comes down with a loud bang. "Ask me again when you're facing an actual enemy that can take that without dying." Then she unsummons herself. Kachan is speechless for a moment, then shakes himself. Then he aims at Izuku. Recognize these? You designed them when we were just brats. They collect my sweat and release it all at once. Young Bakugo, don't do it. You could kill him. All Might barks over the comms. Paige! Izuku yelps. Paige appears, looking at his expression, and turns around. Not if he dodges, Kachan says and pulls the trigger. Kachan is slammed backwards through several walls as the gauntlet goes off. Izuku dodges. Telekinetic force slams Kachan's arm back and up, directing the force of the gauntlet upwards. There's a scream of shock from the next floor up. Izuku stumbles and falls to his hands and knees, shaking in shock. Kachan groans and then falls flat on his face, hand outstretched in front of him. Crap, Paige says succinctly. That gremlin is going to need medical care. Izuku coughs. Recovery Girl can fix him, he reassures her. Mido, are you okay? Uraraka asks. Yeah, I'm fine. Can you just get past Ida? He asks. I think so. That explosion knocked some rubble into the room. Ha! Release! She crows. The hero team wins! All Might Sensei says a moment later. Please vacate the building before it comes down. Oh, yeah. It is kind of groaning and creaking concerningly. Izuku looks at Kachan. He's probably not strong enough to lift him. Paige, can you drag Kachan outside so he doesn't get hurt? I probably should, she says, half to herself, then nods. Yeah, don't make me drag you too, though. He laughs a little and stands up. I won't. That night he has an epiphany. If I fill the bathtub with water and aim a fireball at it, I can practice both fireball and water ball. By the time his mother knocks on the bathroom door to call him to supper, the bathroom is full of steam and there's water everywhere. He also has enough skill points to buy the remaining 3 spells. Earth Ball. Cost 2 mana. Concentrate on the feeling of earth in the palm of your hand and shape that feeling into a ball before shoving that feeling outwards while adding mana. Aim hand at target before firing. Target takes 3 damage. Tip. Adding more mana will increase the damage output and size of the Earth Ball. Wind Ball. Cost 2 mana. Concentrate on the feeling of wind in the palm of your hand and shape that feeling into a ball before shoving that feeling outwards while adding mana. Aim hand at target before firing. Target takes 2 damage. Tip. Adding more mana will increase the damage output and size of the Wind Ball. Man Ball. Cost 2 mana. Everything on this earth is suffused with mana. Living things create their own mana. Focus within to find this energy. Concentrate the feeling of the energy within the palm of your hand and shape that feeling into a ball before willing the feeling outwards. Aim hand at target before firing. Target takes 4 damage. Tip. Adding more mana will increase the damage output and size of the mana ball. Warning. Make sure you aren't grabbing life energy or blood or organs. These mistakes can be messily fatal. Yikes. Fortunately, he's pretty sure he knows what mana feels like by now. He even still has skill fragments left, but nothing new has shown up in the book, so maybe he needs to use all the basic spells a certain amount before more spells will show up. At least he hopes that's the case. Well, it doesn't really matter at the moment. Right now he needs to clean up the bathroom before his mom sees the mess. Toru isn't paying much attention to 13's lecture, looking around curiously because, let's face it, her quirk is more dangerous to her than anyone else in a rescue situation. Those are real villains. Stay back and stay together. 13, get them out of here. It isn't until Aizawa-sensei speaks in a grim tone that her attention snaps back. And holy heck, it looks like a purple wound in the middle of the facility spewing out villains. She yanks on Midoriya's arm to get him moving, when he seems more concerned with Aizawa-sensei than retreating like a sane person. Fortunately, after a look of surprise at her, he follows along willingly. Unfortunately, they don't get far before they're intercepted by a man made of the same ugly purple mist, disgorging villains. Also, unfortunately, Bakugo and Kirishima prove they have rocks for brains. And while Midoriya proves to have at least 2 brain cells, Ida proves he only has half a one by arguing with him. Who the heck cares about honor when they're going to die if they don't get help? Pronto, Ida, apparently. Ida heads for the door. The mist villain mocks them, and she hears Midoriya say, "Roy." Then 13 is injured by her own quirk, and the rest of them are dropping through portals into, well, not hell, but as good as, given that there are villains here, too. Fortunately, they don't spot her before she ducks behind an outcropping of rock. She can probably sneak up on them or past them if she ditches her gym clothes, but she really doesn't want to. Unfortunately, it's her best bet unless... "Himari," she whispers. The elemental appears in the middle of doing her braid. After she finishes it and ties it off, she asks, "What's up?" "Do you have a spell that can make my clothes invisible too?" she asks quietly. "Yes, it lasts about 5 candle marks though," Himari warns. Which, that's probably about 5 hours, given that she'd been visible for almost 2 hours with a 2 candle marks spell. "Do it, please. Can you go invisible too?" Toru asks as an afterthought. She really doesn't want to be alone right now. Himari fades from sight. "Of course I can." She feels a slight weight settle on her shoulder and looks down at herself to find her clothes are no longer visible. Excellent. Now she just has to be quiet, which is not a hard thing, not as hard as it should be, because the villains are looking for students, not listening for them. She gets about 20 feet past them when Todoroki shows up and freezes all of them at once. But with barely any effort, the splash zone misses her by a little over a foot, thankfully. Toru decides to wait for him as he threatens the villains with cell death via frostbite, and only speaks up as he steps past her. "Todoroki." He startles and falls into a defensive stance before relaxing. "Hagakure?" "Yeah, thanks for not freezing me again," she says. Todoroki nods. "I'm going down to help Aizawa-sensei. I'll come with you. Worst case, I can suplex a villain or 2 before they see me," she offers. "Just stay out of my way," he warns, and starts walking again. "Oh, I will. Do you remember we can call our elementals, right? I think 2 ice users might be better than 1 in this case," she reminds. Given his usual attitude, she is surprised that A, he's bothering to talk to her, and B, doesn't brush her advice off. Instead, he simply says, "Toji." The kid elemental appears, looking mischievous. "What is it, master?" "I'm going to need your help. We're going down there." He points at the central plaza, which is visible from this height, "and fight everyone except for the man in black with the scarf." Toji turns and surveys the plaza. "Ooh, a challenge! What about those ones?" He points to 3 figures emerging from one of the other zones. Todoroki squints. "That's Midoriya, Sue, and Shinso," Hagakure informs him. Her eyesight is stellar, after all, and given his scar, it's possible that his isn't. We're not fighting them," he says in enlightenment. "Okay, so, children good, adults bad, except a guy in black," Toji clarifies. "Yes." "All right." Choji carols and then disappears in a puff of snow. I'm not the final boss of Eraserhead. Nomu, kill Eraserhead, the villain covered in hands says. Shota barely has time to notice and look up at the villain, who responds before he's slammed into the concrete, arm breaking with a sick crack. This is it for him, isn't it? But he spares a thought for his newest responsibility. Cho, I'm sorry, he whispers in his head, is lifted and slammed into the concrete. Suddenly, the Nomu jolts back, its grip loosening. He yanks himself free and stupidly looks up at the Nomu, its pawing at its head, staggering as it stands there. Some puke-green substance splashed on its exposed brain while Cho hovers midair, defying physics. How? Never mind how, he lunges to his feet and stumbles out of immediate reach. Cho follows, and when he pauses to catch his breath, she scolds, You should have warned me that we'd be dealing with greater undead. I only had a potion to stop lesser undead on hand. That won't do nearly enough damage. Maybe he'll come if I kill some kids, the leader says, and Shota has a distinct impression that he's missed more than a part of the conversation because the leader has moved over closer to the water zone. Suddenly, the leader stops and starts cursing as he starts decaying the ice that suddenly encases him up to the waist. Midoriya, bless his foolhardy soul, makes use of the distraction to try and punch the leader. But he only gets halfway there before Nomu notices and moves to intercept him. It's not moving as fluidly as it did before, but it still takes the punch like it doesn't feel it at all. Granted, Midoriya is a twig, but Shota has a feeling that it wouldn't have noticed if he had hit it. Ugh, no, not the kitties, Cho says worriedly. But Midoriya doesn't get crushed. Instead, the villain gets shoved backwards, or maybe dragged, and then a spike comes out of the ground to impale it. How many elementals does Midoriya have again? Gashes from something invisible open on its arms and then close just as quickly. It has to be Shinso's wind elemental. Shota moves towards them, readying his capture scarf as much as he can with one half-functional arm. Bang! He jerks around and sees All Might, minus his usual dumb grin. Shortly after, Toji disappears. Toru sees the purple mist guy appear next to one of the villains as Aizawa Sensei is slammed into the ground by a large villain who looks to have his brain on the outside. She curses, glad that they're getting close to the edge of the zone now, and even gladder that she still has her shoes on. The footing is iffy enough that she has to take her attention off the fight, but when she looks up again, the big villain is just in front of Midoriya, between his little group and a villain who is cursing as he disintegrates the ice holding him still. Disintegrating by touch? No, that's bad. At least now she knows which villain is getting an invisible elbow to the temple. Before they can get there, though, the door to the USJ blows off, revealing All Might, who is not wearing his trademark smile. What follows is a crap fest, with All Might taking on the big villain, who goes toe-to-toe with him and might even be winning before Todoroki and Bakugo intervene. Midoriya finally seems to remember he has elementals, or at least she presumes. It's his elemental throwing earth spikes up to pierce the villain All Might is fighting, and another one uses telekinetic force or maybe wind to throw it backwards. Meanwhile, Midoriya's group and Aizawa Sensei have been moved to the top of the steps near 13. She is thinking of joining them when All Might takes a blow for Bakugo, followed by a loud explosion from where Bakugo had just been. That as the Purple Mist villain, ragdolling instead of standing up. The pale-haired villain with the disintegration quirk is frozen by Toji again. And well, Toru's awfully close to him, and he seems to be the leader. So, while All Might is dealing with the big villain again, Toru walks up to the distracted man and elbows him as hard as she can in the temple. It's not quite enough to knock him out, but it does have him drooping notably. So she follows it up with a high kick to the chin, which leaves him hanging motionless in a parody of a backbend. Toru waits, but he doesn't move. She looks back at All Might's fight in time to see him punch the big villain through the roof. So that was an option? She looks back at the mist creep and sees he's still lying on the ground, and there seems to be a small puddle of blood under his head. Yeah, that explosion must have been Bakugo's now. And then the teachers show up. They look pretty happy that all that's left for them to do is arrest the villains, who are already down for the count. Turns out, a lot of the minor villains in the plaza were frozen in place by Toji, so it isn't that hard. Midnight Sensei does double check that Toru isn't naked when she talks to her and lets her know where she is. That makes her feel better, honestly. She doesn't mind being naked, but interacting with villains while naked, no thank you. She's going to get her costume changed now that she knows that Himari can turn her clothes invisible at need. No, I'm not, she reassures her. Himari, my elemental, turned my clothes invisible for 5 hours. At least, that's how long she said it would last. Himari fades back into sight. Hours? Not candle marks? I guess the language has changed. Midnight Sensei bows slightly. Thank you for keeping my students safe, Himari. Of course, it would be ill done of me to let my master be harmed when I can prevent it. Himari sounds rather formal. I still appreciate it, Midnight Sensei insists. Before the conversation can go further, someone walks into Toru hard enough to stagger her. Eck, is someone there? I'm so sorry, I didn't see you. A paramedic apologizes. This is Toru Hagakure, one of the students. Can you check her over for any injuries? Midnight Sensei explains. I can try, she says dubiously. Don't worry about it, I'll see Recovery Girl, Toru answers. I might have bruised my elbow and foot a little, but I'm fine. Oh, well, maybe let people know you're there so no one steps on you, he suggests, looking embarrassed. Or you could go get Recovery Girl and let her know she's needed over here, Midnight Sensei suggests, with an edge in her tone. Okay, he squeaks and hurries back the way he came. You don't need to do that, Toru says. Oh no, I really did. It isn't your job to make sure an invisible victim gets treatment without further injury. Midnight Sensei says righteously. She's right, Shinso comments from behind her, making her jolt. You took out the leader. You'll have to show me what moves you pulled there when you're, visible again. Not going to lie, seeing him being beaten up was pretty cool. You were down there in the middle of that? Midnight Sensei sounds and looks appalled. Hey, she kicked butt, Shinso objects. Well, it's not like All Might could see me when he was evacuating people from the plaza, Toru placates. And I was going to leave, but then Bakugo's elemental took out the ugly smog villain, and the leader was right there and immobile. I wasn't going to let him free himself and maybe come after me. Oh, I'm not upset at you, Midnight Sensei clarifies. All Might knows we have an invisible student. He shouldn't have left it to chance. You did more than anyone could expect of a first year on the 3rd day of classes. All of you did. I didn't really do anything, Shinso counters. Kanko and Midoriya's elementals did all the work, and keeping that thing off of us. And Todoroki's elemental was the one who kept the leader off of us long enough for All Might to get there. You called for us? That wasn't enough, Kanko said sharply. No one could expect a child to go up against a greater undead as you did today. Undead? Toru and Midnight Sensei and Shinso ask all at once. She's right, Himari agrees. That thing the teacher went up against is an undead. Even weakened by an alchemy potion and paired with both minor and lethal damage from magic's beloved elementals. And Kanako, it went toe-to-toe with the teacher and didn't die. He barely defeated it. Something alive can't take that kind of damage and walk it off. Undead, Midnight Sensei repeats, looking disturbed. I need to let Nezu know about this. Nezu? Recovery Girl asks from a few feet away. He's over there. I hear I have a patient. Midnight Sensei walks off in the direction she indicates. Here, Recovery Girl, Toru says, waving a hand, then stops when she realizes that her gloves are invisible too. I'm okay, just a few bruises. I elbowed one of the villains in the head and then kicked him to make sure he stayed down. Good for you, Recovery Girl said approvingly. Give me some bear skin to kiss, Shinso snorts. Toru rolls her eyes at him, not that he can see it, takes a glove off and holds it out, pulling back slightly as Recovery Girl walks right into it. Recovery Girl gropes the air until she grabs the hand and brings it closer before kissing it. There you go, dearie. What about you, young man? I think I inhaled some water, and I might have scraped my knee when Sue dropped me on the boat, he says uncertainly. That's not good. Can't have you dry drowning. Sit down so I can listen to your lungs, she orders. He obeyed, but glares at Toru, apparently sensing her hidden laughter at his expense. Maybe she shouldn't laugh. Nothing about the situation is funny, but she's pretty sure he's more afraid of the little old woman than he was of the villains. Hilarious. The funniest part is that she is too.